significantly higher death rates than those that worked in munitions manufacture. 77. By the end of the war, main camps were functioning more and more as transfer stations from which prisoners were redirected to subcamps. 46. At their peak in 1945, concentration camp prisoners made up 3% of workers in Germany. 78. Historian Mark Bugel estimates that no more than 1% of the labor for Germany's arms production came from concentration camp prisoners. 78. Public perception. Gate of Natzweiler Strudhof. After liberation, this factory building in Dresden waste site of a subcamp of Nossenburg. Arrests of Germans in 1933 were often accompanied by public humiliation or beatings. If released, prisoners might return home with visible marks of abuse or psychological breakdown. Using a dual strategy of publicity and secrecy, the regime directed terror both at the direct victim as well as the entire society in order to eliminate its opponents and deter resistance. 79. Beginning in March 1933, detailed reports on camp conditions were published in the press. 80. Nazi propaganda demonized the prisoners as race traitors, sexual degenerates, and criminals, and presented the camps as sites of free education. 81. 80. After 1933, reports in the press were scarce, but larger numbers of people were arrested, and people who interacted with the camps, such as those who registered deaths, could make conclusions about the camp conditions and discuss with acquaintances. 82. The visibility of the camps heightened during the war due to increasing prisoner numbers, the establishment of many subcamps in proximity to German civilians, and the use of labor deployments outside the camps. 83. These subcamps, often established in town centers in such locations as schools, restaurants, barracks, factory buildings, or military camps, were joint ventures between industry and the SS. An increasing number of German civilians interacted with the camps. Entrepreneurs and landowners provided land or services. Doctors decided which prisoners were healthy enough to continue working. Foremen oversaw labor deployments, and administrators helped with logistics. 84. SS construction brigades were in demand by municipalities to clear bomb debris and rebuild. 85. 86. For the prisoners, chances of survival rarely improved despite the contact with the outside world, although those few Germans who tried to help did not encounter punishment. 87. Germans were often shocked to see the reality of the concentration camps up close, but reluctant to aid the prisoners because of fear that they would be imprisoned as well. 88. Others found the poor state of the prisoners to confirm Nazi propaganda about them. 89. Historian Robert Gellately argues that the Germans generally turned out to be proud and pleased that Hitler and his henchmen were putting away certain kinds of people who did not fit in, or who were regarded as outsiders, asocials, useless eaters, or criminals. 90. According to historian Carola Fine's fear of arrest did not undermine public support for the camps because Germans saw the prisoners rather than the guards as criminals. 91. She writes that demand for SS construction brigades points to general acceptance of the concentration camps. 85. In Cologne, some construction brigade prisoners were shot in broad daylight. 92. Statistics. Number of prisoners in the system. Timeline of the establishment of camps. Black for main camps, orange for early camps and subcamps. There were 27 main camps and, according to historian Nikolaus Wachsman's estimate, more than 1,100 satellite camps. 93. This is a cumulative figure that counts all the subcamps that existed at one point. Historian Karen Orff estimates the number of subcamps to have been 186 at the end of 1943, 341 or more in June 1944, and at least 662 in January 1945. 94. The camps were concentrated in pre-war German land, to a lesser extent territory annexed to Germany. No camps were built on the territory of Germany's allies that enjoyed even nominal independence. 95. Each camp housed either men, women, or a mixed population. Women's camps were mostly for armaments production and located primarily in northern Germany, Thuringia, or the Sudetenland, while men's camps had a wider geographical distribution. Sex segregation decreased over the course of the war, and mixed camps predominated outside of Germany's pre-war borders. 96. About 1.65 million people were registered prisoners in the camps, of whom, according to Wagner, nearly a million died during their imprisonment. 65. Historian Adam Tooze counts the number of survivors at no more than 475,000, calculating that at least 1.1 million of the registered prisoners must have died. According to his estimate, at least 800,000 of the murdered prisoners were not Jewish. 97. In addition to the registered prisoners who died, 1 million Jews were gassed upon arriving in Auschwitz, including these victims. The total death toll is estimated at 1.8 to more than 2 million. 3. Most of the fatalities occurred during the second half of World War II, including at least a third of the 700,000 prisoners who registered as of January 1945. 2. Death marches and liberation. Major evacuations of the camps occurred in mid-1944 from the Baltics and eastern Poland, January 1945 from western Poland and Silesia, and in March 1945 from concentration camps in Germany. 98. Both Jewish and non-Jewish prisoners died in large numbers as a consequence of these death marches. 99. Many prisoners died after liberation due to their poor physical condition. 100. The liberation of the camps documented by the Western Allies in 1945 has played a prominent part in perception of the camp system as a whole. 101. Legacy. Memorial at Buchenwald. Since their liberation, the Nazi concentration camp system has come to symbolize violence and terror in the modern world. 102. 103. After the war, most Germans rejected the crimes associated with the concentration camps, while denying any knowledge or responsibility. 104. Under the West German policy of Wiedergutmachung, lit. Making good again, some survivors of concentration camps received compensation for their imprisonment. A few perpetrators were put on trial after the war. 105. Accounts of the concentration camps, both condemnatory and sympathetic, were publicized outside of Germany before World War II. 106. Many survivors testified about their experiences or wrote memoirs after the war. Some of these accounts have become internationally famous, such as Primo Levi's 1947 book, If This Is a Man. 107. The concentration camps have been the subject of historical writings since Eugen Kogon's 1946 study, Der SS State, the SS State. 108. 109. Substantial research did not begin until the 1980s. Scholarship has focused on the fate of groups of prisoners, the organization of the camp system, and aspects such as forced labor. 107. As late as the 1990s, German local and economic history omitted mention of the camps or presented them as exclusively the responsibility of the SS. 110. Two scholarly encyclopedias of the concentration camps have been published, Der Ort des Terrors and Encyclopedia of Camps and Ghettos. 111. According to Kaplan and Wachsman, more books have been published on the Nazi camps than any other site of detention and terror in history. 112. Stone argues that the Nazi concentration camp system inspired similar atrocities by other regimes, including the Argentine military junta during the Dirty War. the Pinochet regime in Chile, and Petiti prison in the Romanian People's Republic. 113. Sources. Notes. Abbreviated officially as KL or more commonly as KZ. The Nazi concentration camps are distinguished from other types of Nazi camps such as forced labor camps and concentration camps operated by Germany's allies. 1. Excludes 1 million Jews who were gassed directly upon arrival in Auschwitz, including those victims. The total death toll has been estimated at between 1.8 million and more than 2 million. 2. 3. Citations. Stone 2017, p. 50. Nazi concentration camps.